the strength of many men, Triceratops. I am Andrew, the Wyoming Dinosaur Center. I'm filming a Fossil Friday. Will you join me? You make me sad. So be it. I have no quarrel with you, good Triceratops, but I must film this short. So be it. Maybe it's time to have a discussion about swords. So, the traditional view of ceratopsian horns is that they were used for battling, mainly the likes of our friend Tyrannosaurus Rex over here. But, you know, you have to think ancient weapons or prehistoric weapons in terms of modern weapons, like this sword. So, sword, iron or steel, you want to keep this safe because steel's very sharp and very durable, yes, but if you kept your sword straight at your side, like so, not only might it damage you, it might damage itself. Could get nicked, rusted, all sorts of things can happen to a sword. So the solution to keeping your sword safe is sheathing it, giving it a nice, safe sheath in order to protect it. That is why swords are always carried in sheaths, or knives, or daggers, anything like that. It keeps the blade safe. Now, when we're looking at a prehistoric weapon, we have to consider the same thing, which brings us to today's subject, the majestic horns of our state dinosaur Triceratops. Now, when we look at the horns of a dinosaur like Triceratops, what we notice is that it isn't a nice, smooth surface. It's riddled with very deep grooves all along the surface, grooves for blood vessels. So what this tells us that there was a lot of blood running along the horns of Triceratops. Now, what sense does that make? That seems like the least likely place you'd want to have lots of blood flowing. I mean, it's right on your head, and if you're going to use that to battle something in the neighborhood of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, well, that's not going to do you much good, is it? Well, we have to think about what requires a lot of blood. What parts of the body require a lot of blood maintenance? And the answer is keratin. Keratin is a material that makes up your fingernails, makes up your hair, makes up various parts of various animals' bodies. And keratin requires a lot of blood supply. Let me sample for you. I'm going to use this sword to cut my fingernail, and I'll show you. Okay, so it's plastic. The important thing is keratin requires a lot of blood in order to be maintained. So what this tells us about this prehistoric weapon is that there would have been a long sheath of keratin covering the horns of Triceratops. So, with all that blood flow, that tells us that the horn wouldn't have been just bare bone as we see it in museums, that the horn actually would have been a bit longer. Just like the skeleton of Triceratops was covered with skin and muscles and filled with organs and veins and arteries and all that good stuff, the horns of Triceratops would have been covered with a sheath of keratin to keep it safe, well, in that matter, but also to just maintain it. Keratin's really important in a lot of animals. Think of it like antlers on a deer. Well-maintained antlers are a sign that you might be a pretty good guy to hang around with. So, what does this all mean? Well, the likelihood of horns being used in combat, probably pretty low, at least against the likes of a Tyrannosaurus. Those horns could have been easily damaged, and then you're losing a lot of blood. That's not a very good defensive strategy. So maybe the horns were serving some other purpose, maybe for fighting amongst themselves. So I guess I'll give this a shot. This is just one of the many things we know about our state dinosaur here in Wyoming, Triceratops. But that's all we have time for today. So until next time, this is Andrew from the Wyoming Dinosaur Center, keeping your Friday fossiliferous. All right, let's get this another go.